Okay, so to begin this DIY, I took my 2 photo frames, and as you can see from the first one, I removed both from the packaging. I then took out the cardboard and paper and the glass. I also removed the metal tabs that hold everything together, and they're very easy to remove. I just wiggle them back and forth and then pull them out, and they come out very easily. So I'm going to go ahead, do the same thing to the second frame, and then we will move on to the next. Now that I have removed everything, I have just gone and put the glass aside that we will be using for the DIY. However, the cardboard and the paper I will just keep separate aside in case I need to use them for any other projects. So now I'm just going to take my 2 ends and I'm going to place them side by side. And what I'm going to be doing is gluing them together. So I will use some E6000 glue as well as my hot glue to put these 2 pieces together. I'm going to take one of my signs. Now I do have 2, and I would recommend that you just measure the length at the bottom. Most of the time they are the same, but you might find that some are just a tad bit shorter. You want to take the measurement of the longer sign. So I went ahead and I measured it, and then I marked my halfway mark. So I've already put a mark here in the where it's halfway. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to place that halfway mark right in the center where the 2 frames meet. And on each side of this sign, I will just make a mark so I know that this area here, this sign has to be able to fit in. And what it will be fitting in is on each side of the sign, I will be building a little wall out of some blocks. And the blocks that I will be using are these tumbling tower game blocks that the Dollar Tree sells. And what ends up working out on the front and the back are 5 blocks. Now I'm just placing these just to give you the idea. So I will place 5 blocks this way, 5 blocks over on this side. Okay, so again, I have my mark here. So this point over will be the 5 blocks, and this part here I will leave with no blocks. I will do this on the front side and the back side, and I will go about 3 blocks high. Now for the ends, so this end and then the other end over here, I will be laying them differently since they do not fit perfectly, but that's okay because there will be a design on each side and it'll actually make it look really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and start laying down the blocks. Once that is done, we will move on to the next step. A couple little things that I forgot to mention before you glue down your blocks that's very important. You will be gluing the blocks down on the back side of the frame. So the front of the frame that has the design and is finished, that will be on the bottom, okay? You want to lay your blocks on the back of the frame. As well, to lay down these blocks, I'm sure that the hot glue would be sufficient. However, when I make my pieces, I really want to make sure that I'm taking that extra step to add a little bit of reinforcement with the E6000 glue. So I will be adding a little bit of E6000 glue to each block as well as hot glue. If I specified this, but when I was telling you about measuring the length and marking your halfway mark, and then placing it on the one side and marking both ends. I don't think I specified to do it to each side, so I did it here. Now I will do it on this side. As well, a little tip when laying down your blocks. The best thing is to start at your edge, so at the end over here, and work your way into the mark. With this side here, I started from my mark and worked my way to the edge and ended up being a little bit in. So there is a little bit of the edge showing. So again, start from the edge, work your way in. This way, if there's a little bit of extra space, it's better that it be in the center and you have a nice clean finish on the ends than to have that little gap at the end. So just a little tip, and everything should work. Finished my back and front walls, again 5 blocks across, 3 blocks high, and all I did was I worked 5 blocks at a time. I applied the E6000 glue first to the blocks on the end here, and then I applied my my hot glue to the top as well as the side. This way, when I laid the block down, it adhered from the bottom as well as the side, giving it a stronger bond. So now that we have the back and the front complete, we need to work on our ends, and I will show you that now. Okay, so now with both ends, I was not able to lay down 4 blocks to fit in that space. It was just too, it wasn't wide enough. So what I decided to do was just use 3 blocks. So I will glue one butt up to the one end. I will do the same on the other side, glue the other block butt up to this end, and then I will place the 3rd block right in the center. With my second row, I will take 2 blocks. I will place them right on top of those gaps underneath, and that will make my second row. And then with the 3rd and final row, I need to add some glue to the end and then some glue to the bottom. And with this, you can just add it like right at the end because there is a big gap. And then I will lay that right on top so that it adheres to the side and then to the end of the first block. And once that's glued down, it'll be fine. It'll be good in place. I will do the same to the other side over here. And then I will just add one right in the center. And then once I have glued all those in place, the one end is complete. I will do the same to the other end, and then we will move on to the next step. Is evening, and I know the lighting is not great in here, but I'm trying to get the video done, so please bear with me. So when I left off, this is what I had, the end looking like this. Now, if I had done this same pattern, because I think it is really a really neat pattern, if I had done this all the way around, I would have been more comfortable with it. But because the back and the front are flat on top, I just really feel that I want this part to be flat on top as well. So what I ended up doing was taking 4 more blocks, and instead of laying them this way, I turned them this way. and then just laid them down the side. Now 4 fit, but there was a little bit of space on each side. So if you're going to do this, just make sure you leave the same amount of space on each end. And I just feel that it goes better this way, even though the ends are now a little bit higher than the back and the front. It's okay. I still think that I like it better this way than having it open with the 2 gaps on top. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on this side over here, and then once I have that side done, we will move on to the next step. So for tonight, I'm going to end with this step, and then I will continue the DIY in the morning. It's nighttime and it's pretty dim in here, and I'd like you to see this in better lighting. So what I'm going to show you is I have these decor pieces, and I have 6 of them, and I will be using these as feet under the picture frame, but I need to remove the flower and the jute twine. So these remove fairly easy. With the flower, you just turn the metal wire as well as the flower, and then you start pulling towards you, and you'll notice that it will then just come out. Now, once it comes out, you may find that there's some glue. So with a utility knife, just go ahead and scrape the glue, any glue off, and this way when you turn this upside down, your leg will sit nice and flat on the table. Now, once you've removed the flower and the jute twine, you'll notice that there is lettering on here. Now, I will be spray painting these with the Rust-Oleum paint and primer in oil rub bronze. So these letters are really gonna blend in with the paint. As well, when I turn this over and I glue it to the picture frame, I will be facing the lettering on the inside, so you won't see it at all, and even if you did, it's really gonna blend in. Now, if you wanted to keep this color and you didn't want to spray paint it, then you could just take some jute twine and just wrap it around this area so that you do cover the lettering, and it would look really cute as well, because it would just give it a more farmhouse look. I don't know if I will end up doing that. You'll just have to see in the final reveal, but that's another option. Or if you do spray paint them, you can as well wrap the jute twine. As I said, it will just give it more of a farmhouse feel. So I'm gonna go ahead, remove the rest of the flowers and the jute twine. Now, I will be using 6 of them. I will have 2 on each end and then 2 in the middle to act as a support for the 2 frames, and it'll just reinforce that centerpiece to keep them together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then in the morning we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so as you can see, I've removed the stems and the flowers from the base of the decor piece, and I flipped the whole base upside down and just positioned the feet where I will be gluing them down. Now, just to show you with this one here, how I was talking about wrapping some jute twine where that lettering is on the base, and I even used the jute twine that the decor piece came with, and I think that this is a nice option if you choose to keep the base the color that it is, or even if you do spray paint it and want to wrap the jute twine around. I think it looks really nice. So now I will first be spray painting the feet in the oil rub bronze. I was going to spray paint the whole thing, and even at this point I haven't yet decided what I'm doing, but I figured I will start off with the feet. I was going to glue it down first, but I think right now, because I'm not sure, I will just take the feet outside, spray them, bring them back in, and then glue them down. This way, if I decide to leave the piece as it is from that point, then I'm finished with that. And if I decide that I want to go ahead and spray the rest, then I still can. So I'm going to go ahead, spray paint the feet, glue them in place, and then we will move on to the next step. Just one more thing here before I go take them out to spray them. I still have not placed the glass back inside of the frames. I just left them out because with spraying the piece, it's just better to leave the glass out, and once everything is sprayed, I will then glue the glass in. Okay, so I've come outside to spray my legs here, and well, what will act as the legs to this DIY. And I wanted to just point out, in case you decide that you want to make this, there are 3 different sayings, as I said earlier: love, live, and laugh. And what I noticed, I didn't notice it when I purchased them, I realized it after, that the love and live are different in shape. So as you can see, this one is more thinner and this one is more round. As well, at the top here it's, you know, flat, and here it's round. So if you are going to make this and it would make a difference to you, you know, perhaps you want all the legs to look the same, then go ahead and buy all the same sayings: all of love, all of live, or all of laugh. Now, live and laugh are more similar, but for myself, as long as I have the 2 on each end that are the same and then the 2 in the center that are the same, then it's not a problem for me. But in case you would like them to be all the same, just keep that in mind when you go to purchase these at the Dollar Tree. I've finished spraying them. They've now dried. I'm just going to take my E6000 glue and my hot glue and just glue them in place. Down my legs, and they are looking great. One thing again I want to just make note of is when you're gluing your feet on, make sure that your letters are facing in. Now, the oil rub bronze blended the letters in really nice, but nevertheless, it's always better to have them facing in so you don't notice them at all. Now, I have decided that I'm going to paint the blocks in the oil rub bronze. I think I'm just going to distress it and have the natural wood just coming through. I think that that's going to really look nice. And before I take it outside to spray it, I'm just going to wrap this centerpiece here with the jute twine, just because when I glued the frames together, some of the E6000 glue came out. Now it is underneath, but nevertheless, I like to give it a nice finish. But not only for that, also because by adding the jute twine and the glue, it's just going to reinforce this center part. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue that, then I will take my piece outside, spray the blocks, and then we'll move on to the next. Wrapping the bottom, and I just decided that I'm going to wrap the top as well in the center. It will just add a little bit more reinforcement to this center so there's not so much bending. But I'm only going to wrap it from this point to this point. Now I just put the tape there so you could see better. And the reason I'm not going to the end is because I will be placing my fall signs on both sides. So once I'm done wrapping that with the jute twine, I then will be taking it out to spray the whole piece. finished completely spraying the piece, and I quickly showed you some areas where I distressed it. Now it doesn't come off great on camera, but there are pieces of natural wood that are peeking through, and I really like how it turned out. I did the feet as well, so I kind of just scuffed them up a bit just to give it a more rustic farmhouse look, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 braided jute twine ropes. And for those of you who are not familiar, when I say that, all I mean is I just take 3 even lengths of jute twine, tie a knot, braid it, tie a knot, and that's my jute twine rope. Now I have a couple pieces left over from a previous project, so I'm just going to cut this in half. It'll do for both sides. So you will be gluing one on the front right up to the edge, and then one on the back again right up to the edge. So there will be a little space where I'm going to be gluing down my fall decor signs. So I'm going to go ahead, glue those down, and then we'll move on to the next step. On my jute twine to the front and the back, I went ahead and then I inserted my glass into the picture frames. Now I was going to glue the glass in, but being that the frame is sitting the way that it is, the glass sits nicely into the frame and I don't have to worry about it falling out. Had I glued the frames the other way, then yes, I would have had to glue them on because I wouldn't want the glass to fall out. But this way they sit nicely in there and I don't have to worry about any glue showing through. So I just laid them in there as they are. Now the next thing I need to do is add my fall signs. And how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to take one and place it in the back, and then I will take my other one and butt it up to the one in the back, to where they're sitting nice and flat against each other, just like that. Now, once I've done that, I need to glue the top of the signs, and what I'll be using is my E6000 glue as well as my hot glue. Once those are glued in place, I will take another piece of jute twine rope and I will just put it over top of that and tuck in the ends to the inside so that it'll cover up the glue. Now the reason I'm using the E6000 glue to the top as well, I will be using it at the bottom to glue the bottom into the frame, is because as you can see I left the jute twine handle on, and that is going to act exactly as a handle. So if I want to lift the piece up, I can just lift it up by the handles. So I really want to make sure that that sign is really adhered well to each other and to the frame. So I'm going to go ahead, glue all those things together. Once it's all together and dried, I will arrange my pieces inside and show you how most likely I will be displaying this in my home. Okay everyone, so here is the fall decor centerpiece that I have come up with, and I absolutely love how this has turned out. Now this particular one here, I did make it for a friend. It was specifically for fall decor, but I am going to definitely be making another one. The only thing I think I might do different, not that I don't love it this way, but I think for someone who would want to keep this up all year round, I'm actually going to use chalkboard paint and make this sign customizable for the different seasons. I mean, my handwriting is pretty good when I really put my mind to it, so I think it would really be nice to be able to change this up throughout the seasons, because it is such a beautiful piece, and this way you do get more use out of it. Now if you're someone who likes to change up your decor, don't really want the same things throughout all the seasons, then this would be perfect. But I think I'm going to just make one where I kind of have something like farmer's market written on it, and then I will write farm fresh, eggs, milk, something like that. This way I can still decorate it on the inside, but yet it's something that I can keep up all year round. I am so happy with how this turned out. I'm glad that I ended up going with the oil rub bronze color, because it just really makes the piece look more expensive than it really is. It really goes nice with the fall colors, and there are numerous ways that you can dress this up. If I had this on my dining room table, I would probably keep it like this and add a couple of candles in there. If I have it on my kitchen table, I could very well, you know, put my pumpkin napkin holder that I made. I'll put the link to that video in the description box below. I could definitely add in my salt and pepper shakers from the Dollar Tree, the squirrel, the pumpkin, and the other one was the owl. Or, you know, you could even use this as a hot cocoa station in the winter time. You know, put all your cups on one side and then the hot cocoa marshmallow sprinkles on the other. And then remember, underneath the sign there's also room in there, so you really can fit a lot in this piece. The ways to use this are endless, really. Definitely, if you decide to make this DIY, you make it your own, use it for whatever you want, but I do not think you will be disappointed, because it definitely looks like something you would buy in a home goods store. And again, I'm so happy with how this has turned out. I really hope that you all enjoyed this DIY. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, guys, take care, and I so hope to catch you in my next video. Bye-bye.